Friends, countrymen, fellow degenerates, welcome back to this week's episode of Bets and Buds. We're the Buds helping you cash your bets. I'm Jason Smoking Token.
I'm Bobby Light.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. We got beautiful weather outside. The seasons have changed. Football is getting their free agency full swing. We got baseball on the horizon, 2 weeks out to opening day here in St. Louis, which is basically a holiday here for us. And we got Blues hockey wrapping up, trying to see if they can make those playoffs. And, of course, college basketball is heating up as the conference tourneys are getting started. It's getting ready to be the
fun time.
Oh, yeah. Conference tourneys are getting started. Then the madness begins, baby. The madness begins. How you doing today, Bobby?
Oh, I'm good. Like, this next month is crazy time.
Oh, it is, man.
You've got the end of the regular season, NBA, NHL. You've got March Madness going on. I mean...
And you know what's so crazy? With all of those things going on, the NFL still finds a way to steal headlines.
Still fine because they'll be going with the draft.
Oh, they'll be going with the draft. They said it's still got free agency signing all the way up into the draft. We still got to figure out where Aaron Rodgers goes, which we'll touch on that a little bit later. You know, the whole nine.
I don't care where he goes. They're going to be losers. Whatever team he signs with is going to be fucking losers.
You know what? I think that was the Jets' curse. Because the same thing with Brett Favre when he went to the Jets. Then as soon as he went to the Vikings, what happened?
Yeah. All right, we'll get it.
Plus, that piece of shit was trying to bang fucking interns and shit.
Well, true. Wouldn't it be funny if he? Yeah, it would be funny if he signed with the Vikings, though.
All right. So
maybe some nasty shit will come out about Rodgers.
Yeah, you know, he's single man. At least he wasn't a family man.
True. All right, we'll kick off with the Blues. The Blues are making a push right now, and they're making a hell of a push. Coming out of the Four Nations tournament in the last 10 games, they are 7-1-2.
Nice.
For 16 points, that is tied with two other teams, tops in the NHL.
Nice.
And nobody has gotten more points besides Winnipeg, and it might be Dallas, with 16 points in their 10 games. So, it's amazing. They're 2 games out of a spot, or 2 points behind a spot right now. Calgary, they're 1 point behind Vancouver. Blues sit with 69. Vancouver and Calgary play each other tonight, so it's
all right. So somebody might X somebody out for you.
Yeah, I mean, do you want Vancouver to win the game so they actually take that spot and you're only 3 points down instead of Calgary win the game and you're 4 points down?
Exactly. That's pretty much. I would say that
I'd have to go with Vancouver on this one because Vancouver actually tie you in games played tonight.
Right. Okay.
So, Calgary will still be one behind, or 1 game in hand.
Right. So I mean, you pretty much I'd say you want Vancouver.
Go Vancouver. Yep. Go Vancouver.
Exactly.
But they are on a roll right now. I'm just. It sucks that Parayko has gone out when he did. But they won a game, lost another one in overtime.
Who's been their hottest scorer lately?
The hottest scorer lately is, I think it's just been about everybody.
That's what you like.
You've got 2 guys that have scored 20 goals this year on the team.
Nice.
But you've got like 10 guys that have scored 10 goals.
Okay.
So it's a balanced scoring tank. Nobody's going to light up the score sheet. Kyrie's only got 24 on the year.
Okay.
Your next person's Holloway with 20, and then everybody's in the team.
So he slowed down because he was on a feverish pace, Holloway, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, both of them. Broberg, too, because he came out and scored points in like the first 7 games, and he had that little injury, and then he played suspect. I mean, he has actually stepped up his game lately, too. If you're talking about defensemen, Broberg's probably, and Cam Fowler.
Okay.
Cam Fowler was a hell of a pickup by the Blues. I mean...
Who'd they pick him up from?
Anaheim.
Was it Anaheim?
He had spent 15 years. He's like a Ryan Sutter type.
So like Sutter, huh?
He has found scoring with Blues. Yeah. Like in 35 games, he's got 22 points.
He must like the system.
Yeah, he does. It's working. But yes, the Blues are right there. Now, granted, the Wild are in that 7th spot, and they're 8 points in front of the Blues with a game in hand. So it's not really realistic to get the 7th spot. We're battling for that
race rate.
Spot. It is the race rate. But yes, the Blues are playing well. They play the Penguins tomorrow night. And
the Penguins have been terrible this year.
Yes, they have
been god-awful.
They have 17 games remaining. I originally said it would be 93, 94, 95 points. They're sitting at 69. So if they go 12-5, like if they were able to pull off a 12-5, that puts them in that range. But it can also be lowered because you don't know what the Canucks and the Flames are going to do for the rest of the year. If they fall off, then the Blues don't have to do as well.
Right, and they get in by default. Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where the Blues are sitting. It's going to be exciting last month of the season, that's for sure.
All right, let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues. All right, on to the Mizzou Tigers. So we were talking about it last week. If they lost to Kentucky, that they were going to fall down. the standings, and they fell all the way to 7th.
Yeah.
Not quite as bad as 8th, as I said.
Yeah, but they're close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
They're right in that middle of the pack.
They could have had the 2-round bye, but instead they only get the 1. They will play the winner of LSU and Mississippi State. So they beat both of those teams this year, which is okay. But then if they win that game, they've got to play Florida.
Which is tough.
They're number 2.
They're one of the favorites
in the conference for a reason.
Yeah.
So if you can get past Florida, then you got to either go up against Kentucky or Alabama again. So
yeah, I mean, we just both of those.
They beat Alabama.
Yeah, they beat them, but I mean
in Mizzou, in Missouri, but
trying to beat a good team like that again twice, that's tough.
It's going to be tough. Yeah, Missouri definitely they dropped 4 out of their last 5 games.
They definitely want to see Kentucky over Alabama if that's what
they really did not do themselves any favors down the stretch.
Yeah, that's college basketball, and that's why I don't bet on kids unless it's March Madness, because then that's
Okay, and then we got SLU, St. Louis University. They actually grabbed the 5th spot, which we were talking about. The worst they could do was 6 with a loss, and they won that game, so 5th. They'll play either Davidson or Richardson in the second round, and then after that, it's a gauntlet because you're going to have to play the 4, 1, 2, and 3, potentially to make it.
And they have to win to get in.
Yeah, and they have to win to get in. Yeah, their 17-3 record is just, or 18-13. 18-13 is just not good enough. No, especially not coming out of the A-10.
No, not coming out of the A-10. They don't have enough big power wins and they have that RPI that they project for the tournament.
All right, now let's move on to the fun stuff.
All right, let's get into my world here. Let's get a little bit of free agency action in the NFL right now. Everybody's hopes and dreams are living large right now as their teams are making moves. They're letting players go. They're bringing players in. They're making trades. A lot of guys have been making a lot of money this season here because the salary cap went up. Who do you got as far as one of your top picks so far?
Oh, one of the top ones? I think it has to be the trade that Chicago.
Chicago has
bringing in all the offensive linemen. You got Jackson from the Rams and Tooney from the Chiefs.
They did it backwards. They did it like they should have done this last year. But hats off to Ryan Poles in their front office.
They also signed a center, Dahlman.
Yeah, Dahlman, who was the number 1 center in free agency this year. And I said, so you got Jonah Jackson, who was in Ben Johnson's with the Lions. He was in their organization, so he knows that offense. You got Tooney, who's a proven veteran. He can get anything done. So the middle of that offensive line is pretty much solidified. They get a running back right now. That offense has a chance to be pretty damn explosive.
Yep.
If Caleb Williams can throw the football on time, because that's probably the biggest question that has been about him, is that because he likes to make the little spinneroo moves and different stuff like that, and do the extra stuff and trying to hit the home run all the time. But Ben Johnson's offense is about timing and playing on time. So that's where we'll see the growth of Caleb Williams, because he won't have the excuse of saying he doesn't have time, especially up the middle right now. And I think they had a good guard that they tackle they drafted last year, Darnell Washington. So I think their line's got a chance to be really, really good.
You're basically overhauling the line, so it can't be worse.
Oh yeah, and this is a deep running back draft.
I hope it's not worse.
There's no way it could be worse. I mean, the Ryan Poles is out of there if that line is worse. But and that wouldn't be his fault because all those guys are proven.
They also signed Smythe, the tight end from Miami. Yeah. And he can make some plays.
Yeah, that's a 2 tight end set guy.
It is.
Cole Kmet.
Komet's still there. Yeah. It's still there.
Now, let's see even in the drafts what they're going to go after as far as receiver wise and.
Well, these were the other 2 signings I wrote down. A Diengbo in edge rusher. How to say that?
Yeah, who did he get picked up by? Was that
the Chicago picked him up. Odabengo and Jarrett, defensive tackle.
Oh, so they got Grady Jarrett. That's right. I forgot about Grady Jarrett.
They pumped up their defensive line too.
He's a solid 10-year. But they realized, man, they were weak in the trenches last year, and that's the thing. You can't play in Chicago and be weak in the trenches.
Right.
That's the thing because it gets cold. That wind's coming off of Lake Michigan and shit. You got to be able to pound the ball and you got to be able to stop the run. And so they really did a good job solidifying both sides of that.
Okay, this is the next one. You're going to love this one. Joshua Palmer gets 3 years, $36 million from the Bills.
That's huge.
To replace Mac Hollins, who ended up going to New England.
Right. Yeah.
So,
which I think that's a great pickup for Buffalo because the thing is with Josh Palmer, he's not a 1. He's an okay number 2, but he's an awesome number 3.
Okay,
he's an awesome number 3.
He was a 1 or 2 in
with the Chargers last year because
wasn't
he was making plays for him, but he's just he can't have the eyes of the defense where they're focusing on him. Right. He's just not that type of receiver, but he has a little burn to him when he can get down the field. So I like that pick for Josh Allen and the Bills.
I just know like when you've had him on your fantasy teams and shit like that, he's been a disappointment. Don't get me wrong.
And you know what? Anytime I got him, I never expected much out of him. But it was one of those things out of desperation. If it was a bye week or an injury or something like that, he was like my fourth receiver on my roster. So
the next one that surprised me actually, Houston making all the moves that they did. Trading
I don't understand
Kirk, Gardner Johnson. That was 2 trades they made.
And what they did was, and I get it, their line sucked last year. But Gardner's, you traded CJ for your starting guard, and then you traded Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders.
Right.
I don't understand Houston, the direction they're going at all. But Nick Caserio's a proven GM in this league. He was with the Patriots organization before he went to Houston. So I'm not going to question him and doubt. Maybe they feel like they can replace things in the draft or they get some better. I have no clue, but it was baffling to me because their offensive line was terrible last year.
Yeah, Tunsil. Maybe they're saying, hey, maybe Tunsil isn't that great.
He's 34 years. He's 34 years old, and I don't know if maybe they're expecting another contract and maybe let's move on from him while we get high value. That's better to get rid of him early than late.
Get something in return.
Yeah, get something in return. But again. We'll see. We'll see because C.J. Stroud he had a little step back last year because of the time and the offensive line was provided or not providing. So that's gonna be. Especially when you invested in Joe Mixon or the run game. So that's gonna be. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
All right. This was another one that surprised me. Najee Harris to the Chargers. Well, it didn't really surprise me. Is this the Dobbins replacement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if anything, this is probably for Najee Harris the best place that he could end up.
That he could go.
Yes, because he's going to pound the ball. He's going to. So the thing is with the Chargers, they just got to make sure they get an offsetting back that has a bit of explosivity, kind of like Jalen Warren was for him in Pittsburgh. Because Najee.
Because they had Gus Edwards on that team last year, and he was the Najee Harris to Dobbins.
Right, exactly. You got 4 years over 1,000 yards with Najee Harris, but when you look at it with a 17-game schedule, that's like 65 yards a game.
It's not pretty yards.
And I think the Steelers were damn near last in yards per carry in the NFL last year. So which was lower than the Cowboys. And the Cowboys had a shitty yards per carry.
Yes, they did. They did.
Yeah, which speaking of, they brought in Javonte Williams.
Bringing up our Cowboys, they brought in Javonte. I only wrote 2 names down here: Javonte Williams and the defensive end Turner that they signed.
Yeah, they really didn't make any huge moves of note. I know they re-signed Marquise Bell at their safety. They also re-signed who was the guy? Because Dexter Lawrence went to the Seahawks today, so he's gone. There was another guy, one of the other safeties, because they let Jordan Lewis. He became one of the highest nickel paid in the league this year with the Jaguars. So they lost Jordan Lewis. So I don't know. Again, I said they got to have one hell of a draft.
All right. They do draft well. You got to give the Cowboys.
Yeah, they do draft well. A lot of their players pan out pretty well. So but it's just they got so many holes to fill. So many holes to fill. But there's still some players out there with some value though.
What was this? Another one that surprised me. Oh, Cleveland trading for Pickett and trading Darius Thompson to the Eagles. What do they think Pickett's going to do there?
You know what? I think they're going to draft a rookie. They have to. I think but the problem is I think so. They had a lot of question about Shedeur Sanders in his attitude type of deal when during the combine, doing some of the interviews. But I almost feel like because Deion Sanders has had an affiliation with the league for a long time. Everybody knows the Cleveland Browns and how shitty of an organization that is. He probably went in that interview and tanked that interview intentionally to be like, dude, don't draft me here because
I want nothing to do.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with you. So I can see that kind of being a possibility because he was kind of leaning to be drafted by the Giants. You remember during the season he had those New York Giants cleats on. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the draft. I think Cam Ward's going to be.
The Giants hold the first pick, do they?
No, it's the Titans. Because the Giants fucked themselves when they beat the Colts at the end of the season.
Right.
They blew the Colts out at the end of the season. And I guess
forgot about that one.
Players aren't going to lose on purpose. That's why I try to tell people all the time. When you go, they're tanking, they're doing this. Not in the NFL. The NFL does not. They can't tank because these players can't put bad tape on film. They just can't.
So let's speak about the Titans then. Where is Houston on this? Oh, we already. Oh, no, Tennessee. Sorry.
Yeah, the Titans. They made a couple moves, but they've nothing really over the top. I think
they brought in offensive lineman Moore, Barton at linebacker, Xavier Woods.
So Moore was he was a left tackle at Pittsburgh. And if you talk to a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans, they were not happy with him. I mean, he was not somebody that they speak glowing of. But sometimes it changes scenery.
Who knows?
He's fourth. I think he's like his 5th year in the league. So I mean, who knows? He might kind of come into his own a little bit. We'll see what happens there. But I mean, it's Tennessee. Well, I mean, I think they messed up when they got rid of Mike Vrabel when they did. And then, speaking of Mike Vrabel, the Patriots had an awesome job. I think at this point, I think at this point they're the ones who have won free agency. I think they have won.
So?
Oh yeah, I mean. At this point, I mean, the Bears did a hell of a job, but I mean they brought in 5 new defensive starters to that defense that was very poor. So you brought Carlton Davis on the opposite side of Christian Gonzalez. So they're going to have a good corner tandem. Then you brought in Bobby Spillane.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, what they call him, the human dump truck or whatever they call him.
Machine.
Oh yeah, he's just an animal. I mean, and then they got it. The number 1 free agent that was out there was it Milton Williams?
Yep.
From the Eagles.
And they brought in Tonga on the defensive tackles position.
Yeah,
and they brought in a veteran, Dobbs. I mean, I know he's bounced around a million teams, but like he can teach.
And then they got Harold Landry that they brought in like a week before that, and he was actually a draft pick from under Mike Vrabel with Tennessee. So I mean, he had great years with Mike Vrabel.
And he brought in a great slot receiver in Matt Collins. So.
Oh yeah, Matt Collins. You got Matt Collins there, so they draft well. Cooper Kupp's still out there. That's one of those that you can see possibly end up going up because he just got officially released today. Yeah, so he got officially released today. They couldn't find a trade partner for him. And Devontae Adams with the Rams, baby.
Oh,
woo. Him and Puka together, man, with Matthew Stafford back there, that could get nasty quickly.
Now, they haven't made any big splashes. They signed Ford to be their on the defensive line. Puna Ford from the Chargers.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, they already have such a young defensive line. I mean, and Puna Ford's a guy in the middle.
That defensive line is legit.
I mean, they nailed their 2 draft picks on the edge. So, I mean, they're going to be with Jared Verse, and I can forget the other guy's name. But, yeah, Puna Ford just solidifies some of that D up the middle because that's the only part where they were susceptible on the run was like when you can attack them straight on. That's pretty much how the Eagles beat them. But yeah, I mean the Rams are going to be excited. I mean it's a lot of moves are out there. And Joey Bosa signed with the Bills.
Going to the Bills.
Yep,
the Bills. We got Palmer obviously, and they signed a defensive tackle Hawk, and then Bosa on the edge, and then Ogunjobi.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm Nigerian, but I don't know how to pronounce all
Nigerian names.
These
Nigerian names really screw me up. That is no doubt about it.
Especially if I'm not looking at it. If I'm looking at it, I might have a chance. But if I'm not looking at it, who knows?
Just some other noticeable, like I said, Josh Sweat getting signed in Arizona. D-Blow getting picked up by the Falcons. Hopkins, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Hopkins with the Baltimore. And then you got like the Colts. I like a couple of moves they made because the Colts actually picked up what's his name, Travarius Ward.
Yep.
They got him at corner.
And Bynum.
And then Bynum from the Vikings at safety. So I like those were 2 good picks for the secondary.
And then also brought in Daniel Jones to give competition to Richardson.
Because
Daniel Jones is Richardson, just not as athletic. I would say.
He's maybe not as athletic, but he might be as fast.
Okay,
he might be as fast as him because Daniel Jones has wheels and he can throw.
He does without that.
And he can throw a better ball. He's a veteran in that Shane Steichen office because they do. Man, Anthony Richardson has to get it together quick, and this is why you can't.
50% completion rate is
47.4. 47. I'm not even gonna give him 50. No, you throw 47.4. I'm not even giving you 50. Now the league average is 65. So if you're 47.4, I'm calling that shit out. 47.4. But that's the problem, like when you go and you draft based on potential, because potential gets you fired. Because the thing is that, I mean, the dude only played,
13 games.
13 games in college. 13 games in college. I'm sorry, but I'm not drafting anybody who only played 13 games in college unless your name is Cam fucking Newton.
Right.
That is it. I mean, outside that, I mean, so that's where you bring Daniel Jones in, maybe see if you make him earn it, and then go from there. I mean, because Daniel Jones, I mean, if you look at it, this might be the best weapons he's ever had in his career.
It very well could be.
I mean,
as far as Taylor, running back, and I mean that's comparable to Saquon.
I mean he's no Saquon, but Jonathan Taylor's explosive. But I'm talking about the receivers. It's gonna be Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and I mean like that. I mean they're receivers, but and then what's the number one? Because I know number 11.
Oh,
I know why I'm drawing a blank on him now. The guy from USC.
I know. No, you're killing me too.
Pittman. Pittman. Yeah, Michael Pittman. So yeah, I mean, like there's, they got a lot of weapons to work with there.
There was another one, Sanjay Perine, going back to the Bengals.
Yeah.
He knew where his bread's buttered. It wasn't in Kansas City.
No, it wasn't. And then, I mean, he was in Denver before that too.
He had spent a year there. So 2 years away from the Bengals.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going home. Yeah, I'm going back. I missed that. Skyway, whatever that is, Skyline Chili or whatever that shit is. Chili
I don't mean to offend anybody from Cincinnati, but that shit is nasty.
All right, speaking of Denver, though, I mean, the Broncos made some good moves I really like. They actually signed Evan Ingram to help shore that offense up. They signed Hufanga from the 49ers.
Hufanga, Greenlaw.
Yeah, Greenlaw from the 49ers.
And Peart.
Yeah, Peart. Yeah, Peart. I don't really know that one. There's a couple guys that, like, when they got signed, I was like, who is that? No clue. But yeah, but I like the Broncos made some good moves after the progress they made last year. You saw the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they brought in a new tackle. And after
they did Moore.
They let Moore. So Moore is actually the backup to Trent Williams for the 49ers.
Okay.
And so the reason why you never heard his name before because when he
just
came
couldn't get on the field.
No, it's because when he came to replace Trent Williams, he did a damn good job. So the only time you hear of offensive linemen,
it's when they
fuck up. That's the only time you hear of offensive linemen when they fuck up. So
they signed Elijah Mitchell to take Sanjay Perrine's place, or Edward Hyde-Hilaire.
Oh yeah. I mean,
he's probably going.
Yeah, he's probably done. I mean, he's probably done. But the Chiefs did lose Jonathan Reed. Jonathan Reed went down to the Saints. And
they had to restructure 2 contracts this week: Chris Jones and Mahomes.
And Mahomes, yep.
Yeah. So
I mean, they got to make sure they make moves. All these guys want to get back in that championship conversation. So
Westbrook Hines going to Miami.
Yeah. That's. I mean, well, I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting. He's more of a possession guy to go with your 2. Well, you really got one speed guy and one.
Waddle's a speed guy too. Waddle
has
wheels.
It's real funny the way Miami uses them guys.
The problem is they're too so
tiny.
little, man. I mean, there's so many little guys on that
Westbrook
team.
Hines is not a little dude.
Right. I mean, so that's why they had to get some size there because they were so little all the way across the board.
And they signed Zach Wilson too.
Yeah. I know. Poor boy. Poor Zach Wilson.
Well, they couldn't keep trotting out White or whoever, what's his name was, because they just couldn't move the ball at all with him.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's his name did okay? Snoop Huntley. Yeah,
Huntley did okay.
He did okay once he was in the offense a couple weeks. But I mean, the problem is that offense is so complex. I mean, you really got to understand that offense. So main thing is keeping Tua healthy. That's a big picture. So.
De'Ami Brown signing with the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jaguars
had a decent season with Commanders last year.
Yeah, he
so
did.
It turned into a little payday for himself.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars made some moves, and we'll see. The biggest thing for the Jaguars going forward is Trevor Lawrence. Can he get right? Right. That's the main thing for the Jaguars is can he truly meet those expectations that have been put on him since he was a middle schooler? Because this dude's been projected to be a number one pick
for a long time.
Since middle school. So I mean, let's see if he can finally live up to that billing.
Let's see what else. 2 teams that really haven't done anything is New Orleans signing Justin Reed, safety. Yeah. That's the only move they've made so
That's
far.
Because they're in salary cap hell.
They're in salary cap
they're in salary cap
and
hell.
then the Giants only signing Golston on their defensive line.
Yeah, I mean the Giants right now, I think they were trying to stand pat because they were hoping to get Matthew Stafford. Then they're kind of in Aaron Rodgers conversation with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those 2 are the 2 teams that are kind of buying for his services. Me personally, I like to see him end up with Pittsburgh and get a bounce back because you could tell the first part of last season he was not fully healthy.
No,
at the end of last season, he looked like Aaron Rodgers again. I think anybody would be glad to get him on a team, and Pittsburgh is one of those teams.
Yeah, if you got Metcalf and Pickett on the outside.
Oh yeah.
So.
The only problem that I could see with that's the only problem I could see with that combination. The
touches,
not the touches. It's not the touches. It's that Aaron Rodgers. He wants you exactly where you're supposed to be
and
when you do stuff. And if you
those guys kind of ad lib.
Yeah, I mean, well, George Pickens doesn't necessarily run. I mean, it's called the red line, and so it's in between where the number markers are and the sideline. Right. That's what they call the red line, and quarterbacks want you to run that red line when you're running that go route. And George Pickens doesn't always run that red line, man. I mean, so that's we'll see. I mean, but Aaron Rodgers is pretty much on his last leg as far as career-wise. I know him and Mike Tomlin have mutual respect for each other. If anybody can make the whole situation work, it's Mike Tomlin.
At least one time?
Yeah. Because they only need one season out of him. I mean, they need one season to try and go for the bowl.
Well, the Steelers traded for Metcalf, obviously, and signed to a big extension. And they signed Gainwell, actually, to be the offset back to
Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gainwell might be like, well, I see
Gainwell in his 4 seasons. I mean, if you look at his numbers, they're not terrible. The guy's got 100 catches in his career.
Yeah, he's not a lead back by any means.
But he's a change of pace guy.
But this is a very, very deep running back draft, and we'll get into a little more draft talk in a few weeks here. But yeah, this is a very, very deep running back draft. One of the deeper drafts that has been out in a while.
Oh, the Steelers also signed McCollum to be their center.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they said their offensive line wasn't bad last year. It wasn't great. So the biggest thing right now is, I mean, they don't have any quarterbacks on the roster.
No,
so,
they don't.
They have to do something about quarterbacks.
Neither does Minnesota at the moment either.
Well, they got J.J. McCarthy.
Well,
and they pretty much have said that he's going to be the starter going
is he going to be ready?
That's why Daniel Jones
is he going to be ready for the season?
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, he tore his ACL in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was a preseason injury.
Okay.
So, I mean, especially the way people recover from knees. Remember Adrian Peterson a few years back tore his ACL, came back and rushed for 2,000 yards?
That dude was a beast.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, but still, at quarterback, he doesn't even have to make sharp cuts. So.
Right. Okay, the other one, Fields being signed by the Jets.
Yes, the Jets. Sorry about it, Fields. Sorry about it.
And then signing Stevens and Cisco in the secondary, which, I don't know, was their secondary terrible last year?
Well, they lost DJ Reed. DJ Reed went to the Lions.
Right.
Yeah, so the Lions had to replace Carlton Davis, so DJ Reed got signed to the Lions. So, yeah, so they had to fill some holes there and have another corner opposite side, Sauce Gardner. But, Justin Fields, he's reunited with his college teammate, Garrett Wilson. They did play together. They are familiar with each other. So, I mean, Breece Hall will be another year off of that injury, see if he's got some more of his explosivity back. Because it looked like he didn't have that same burst as he did when he first came into the NFL. So, I mean, there's a lot of moves out there, and we still got a lot of names that's still out there on the street. So,
oh, you'll love this one. Valdez Scantling, Seattle Seahawks.
So that's what so the Sam Darnold. We forgot about speaking of Seahawks.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, so Sam Darnold, I mean, he still got picked up there in Seattle.
He did.
And so they're going to have to make sure they give him more weapons.
I mean, they gave him some serious money, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, $33 million a year, 3-year contract. And basically on the Baker Mayfield deals that he got a couple years ago. So with the Bucs. And speaking of the Bucs, we got Chris Godwin went back and signed there.
Re-signed there.
I heard an interview with him today. He said he actually took $20 million less than the offer he had from another team.
Really?
He's like, he had talked about it with his wife. He said, I had to do overall what was best for me and my family.
Right.
And so, I mean, he's
staying in Tampa Bay.
He's in Tampa Bay. He knows what he gets out of Baker Mayfield. He knows what he gets out of that organization. His wife and kids don't have to move and change schools and all that stuff that goes on with it. Because at the end of the day, people always think like this is like John Madden and all that stuff. But these are human beings right here. And anybody who's ever moved, moving sucks. And moving across country, really have imagined would suck. I never did it, but I can only imagine how bad that would suck. So you have to leave all your infrastructure of your community and everything behind, because who knows? I mean, with Chris Godwin, the type of guy he is, I'm sure they're heavily ingrained in that Tampa community. Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably, he didn't feel good about the decision, and sometimes all money isn't good money when it comes to your happiness overall.
All right, there's only 4 teams we haven't talked about yet. It's not a big deal. San Francisco signed Robinson Jr.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to come in, I guess, take the Devo spot. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see what the end of that Niners era and run is over, and that's why I always say how important it is for you to capture.
Now they have resigned a few guys, but they
lost a lot of that core. I mean, a lot of that core is gone. And that's the thing that you always have to think about when you hear people say you have to win while you have your window open. Because you see, as the money comes in, because they're getting ready to have to make the Brock Purdy decision and figure out how much money they're going to give him. George Kittle will probably be gone this year. I mean, I saw a lot of mock drafts that they had. Next year, I saw a lot of mock drafts where they had them drafting Tyler Warren, a tight end out of Penn State, because they let Juszczyk go. Juszczyk is gone. He was a staple in that team for a long time. And so, I mean, there's a lot of pieces that are missing from the 49ers now that they will not look like the same team we've seen for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
All right, Green Bay hasn't done much. They signed Aaron Banks.
They never do.
Hobbs.
They never do.
No, they're not big free agency spenders. We talked about Denver, Carolina.
Carolina made some nice moves.
They did make some moves.
Nice moves.
Morang at safety, Wharton at defensive tackle, Pat Jones a second at edge.
Yeah, they made some really nice moves. I was very impressed with Carolina and the moves that they made. They're trying to be a legitimate football team again.
All right. And Washington, getting Debo and Tunsil and Kinlaw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of moves were made, a lot of chess pieces were moved around the board, and I mean, we're going to see how everything pans out here. And when we get to September, we got a lot more fun here because there's a lot more free agents still out there on the streets because we got that second tier and second wave.
We do.
They're going to come along, and then of course we got the draft, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the next couple of weeks. Cover more March Madness as we get through a lot of these conference tournaments. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of keep riding from there. All right, brother. Well, let's go ahead and keep this party rolling. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Shout out to Director Dave for keeping us up on the 1s and 2s, true to the track, blessing us with those beats. I'm Jason Smoking Token.
I'm Bobby Light.
See you next week.
Peace.
Yeah, it's not getting that static.
Yeah, right.